So good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's masterclass with Techlytics. We are so glad to have you all join us this evening. Thank you for joining us. So I would like to start with the introduction now. I'll start with myself. My name is Adenike Adeyeye, and I'm a data analyst. I work with Techlytics. I live in Port Harcourt. And what else? I've been working with Microsoft Excel for more than 10 years. It's one of my favorite tools that I love to work with. So I've had experience in banking, education, and before I transitioned into tech, I live in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. So I would like to meet you all, what you do, where you're joining us from, what your expectations are for this section. So I would like to open the floor for other people to introduce themselves. So, or should I start calling name? Glory, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Glory Burayumo. I'm a data analyst and I work at Techlytics. Yeah. All right. So I think I ventured into the tech space, say like 2 to 3 years ago, and it's been a good ride. Yeah, and it's so nice to have you all in class. We hope that you have an amazing time and your expectations are met. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Glory. So, Adeyinka, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I hope you can hear me. Yes, so
Yes,
my
I
name is
can.
Adine.
Loud and clear.
I work with UBA as a member of the trade services. So recently I've been having to work with Developer, which I have a wide range of data to work with, but then I'm not very good with some Excel whatever now. So I decided to join this so I'll be able to learn a few things. I am speaking from Lagos. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Adeyinka. And I'm so glad that you took up that bold step to actually learn more about a tool that will be very easy for you, that will be very useful for you in your daily tasks. And I would also encourage you to watch some of our past YouTube videos where we've had other tutorials. And I promise you, it's going to be very worthwhile for your time. Thank you very much. So I have here Barakat A. Hi, Barakat. Good evening and welcome to free masterclass. Can we meet you, please? Okay, I'm just trying to unmute. So probably she's unable to speak yet. She'll be able to speak now. So Barakat. Barakat. Okay, if Barakat can speak now, you can actually send your introduction on the chat room and I will gladly read it out for everyone else to know you or meet you. So Ebi Bamidele, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Can we meet you, please?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, my name is Ebele. I'm product manager here in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta. I specialize in payment processing system and optimizing transaction efficiency. I transitioned with my banking experience when I was in Nigeria. I wanted to know what this meeting is all about. That's why I joined. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ebere. And it's so nice to have you on the call. So how is Canada this morning?
Yeah,
so thank you very much. So
It's a
I'm sure you
beautiful
will have a very worthwhile section with us this is evening here in Nigeria. So this evening. So thank you very much for joining us, and I can tell you for free that you're in the right place. Thank you. So Ayolu Asheo.
Hi, Denike. Good evening. Well done.
Thank you. Let's meet you now.
Okay, fine. My name is Oluwaseun Ojo, right? So I'm a microfinance banker, also a graduate of Techlitis Data School. So I'm here um as a student of Techlitis, also on a journey to mastery. So wherever you see Techlitis, you see me. So that's why I'm here.
All right, thank you very much, Oluwaseun, and we are glad that you joined us this evening, even despite the fact that you are a student, and we are so glad to have you on the call, and thank you very much for the kind words. So finally, I have my boss here on the call, Oluwatayo Wikunle. Hi, Tayo, good evening. Please, can we meet you? We've met you, but can other people meet you?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good to be here. I'm also coming to learn about how to automate data cleaning with macros. So I'll just be the student today. I'll be looking. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
When
for
my
joining.
boss says she's coming to learn.
No vex.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm so glad to have everyone on the call this evening. Thank you very much. And so we are going to start immediately. So we have a culture here at Techlytics. Anytime we have a section like this, we like our attendees to know a bit about us, what we do, what our products are. So I would like Glory, please, to just take like 5 minutes of our time to tell us a brief introduction into what we do here at Techlytics. Hi, Glory. Over to you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear, Glory. We can hear you.
Okay. Can you see my screen? I just started sharing.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, you're welcome to today's free masterclass by Techlytics, and I just want to tell us a little about Techlytics, what we do, and why we do what we do. Yeah. So, Techlytics is a technology workforce development and consulting organization dedicated to empowering ambitious professionals and businesses with the essential skills needed to thrive in the ever-evolving world of technology. With a strong focus on preparing professionals for the future of work, we have successfully trained and mentored more than 3,000 fellows across various educational technology institutions and corporate settings such as GSK, Tiva, Innova, Lab, Treford, and Eco Innovation School. Our specialized training programs primarily revolve around data analytics, product analytics, low code, and no code development. So today we're in the data analytics space. We're having our free masterclass, but we don't only do data analytics. We also do product analytics, low code, or no code development. So you could join us for any of our masterclasses if you see that online. Thank you. Now, there's a problem that we're solving as a company, and the problem is that, the evolution of work, especially in the wake of COVID-19, brought about a change in the way we work, where we work and the work we do. There's been an increased trend in the demand for new skills to fulfill emerging roles in today's workplace. So we know what has happened over the years from COVID, how that, people had to start working remotely, and even before COVID, skill sets started to change, technology was evolving day in, day out, and that's the problem we saw, and that's why as a company we want to solve that problem. And the solution is that Techlytics will provide on-demand online courses to equip young professionals with the necessary skills to integrate and succeed in a tech or non-tech role in the workplace. This would be achieved in partnership with other practicing professionals to provide best-in-class course content for the global markets. And that's why we're having something like a free masterclass today as part of our solution to the outline problem. Attraction, we have the Rainmaker, then we have Techlytics, and where we are now. We're formerly known as Rainmaker Online, which kickstarted as a YouTube Microsoft Excel tutorial channel in May 2020. We had 88 students from the Rainmaker Online, and we officially launched as Techlytics on the 25th of February 2022. And since we've launched, we've had remarkable growth: 900 sign-ups, 103 lecture completions, 35 course completions, 170 active students and 306 YouTube subscribers. So I'll be dropping our YouTube link, and it will be nice for you to check because there are amazing courses, a lot of things that will not be treated today. You can go back to check, introduction to Microsoft Excel and other courses are there. So in your free time, your spare time, please do well to go to our YouTube page and then, just learn. Thank you. Yeah, so meeting our best team. Tayo just introduced herself. So Tayo is our founder and lead trainer, and she's a chartered banker, certified Microsoft Excel specialist. So when she said she wanted to come and learn, I was just laughing that, okay, wow, that's cool. And, she has a proven track record of breaking complex concepts to relatable bits, making the learning process engaging and accessible to all learners at all levels. When you go to our YouTube page, you see some of the lectures that she also took herself, and you'll be able to say that all this that has been written is actually very true. And then we have other people on the team. We have myself, I'm a data analyst, and then there's Abiodun Lani, there's Adenike that will be taking the course today, and then we have Timothy. I hope that you have an amazing time in class and do well to check out our social media pages, our YouTube pages, if you need more clarification. So Adenike, I'm done. Over to you, please. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Glory.
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't
here. I'm
check.
here.
All right.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much, Glory, for that presentation. So I would share my screen so that we can get started with the business of the day. All right, just a second. So I want to believe that everyone can see my screen. Yeah, so on today's masterclass, we want to look at how to automate data cleaning and repetitive tasks with macros in Excel. So I just want to get few fillers from the class. Has anyone on the call here today ever worked on macros? Or do you even understand what macros are? Anyone? There is actually no right or wrong answer, just to know what you understand and to know it doesn't change anything. I just want to know if we have one time or the other worked using macros in the past.
Okay. Can I say
Okay,
something?
so I will take the silence as all right. Yes, please.
Okay, I think I've once
Yes, you
used
can, please.
what is it called? Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? My network is
Yes, I
bad.
can
Can you
hear
hear me?
you.
So I said I think I've
Yes, I
once
can. Is that
used,
Oluwaseun?
please.
Oluwaseun, please, you can proceed. I can hear you.
So I've once used what is it called? The VBA macros, right? For auto fitting and one other task like that I've forgotten. I think that was when I used something related to macro.
Okay, to macros. You are a guru already now, so don't worry. I have a co-tutor on the call already, so that's great. So thank you very much for that. All right, so thank you for that. So what are macros? Macros simply they are powerful Excel tools that allow you to record a series of actions and then replay them automatically. This is actually a huge time saver for repetitive tasks that you perform frequently, especially data cleaning and the likes. So just to break it down, so macros are just like when you hold the camera and you are recording yourself, probably dancing or doing something. You know, the exact way you record yourself is the exact way you are going to see yourself. So then probably after stopping the recording, you now play it back to see what you have done. That is exactly what macros does for you in Microsoft Excel. So let me break it down a bit more. Let's assume you start recording your macros and you click on cell A. The moment you click on cell A1, my Excel will record that action. Let's now assume that you typed 1, 2, 3, 4 on that cell. Excel records the action again. Then maybe after that, you bold in that number. Excel records that action. Then you stopped what you are doing. So you now move to another sheet entirely. And the moment you play that macro that you have recorded, everything that you have done on the previous sheet would be transferred back to your new sheet without you doing any other thing, just at a click of a button. Then that is what macros are. So you agree with me that it's a powerful tool that is not only useful for data cleaning. Think of anything that you do in Excel. You can actually do it by recording a macro and just a little tweak editing in your VBA. So that is what macros have. So what are the benefits of macro? We can all agree that doing something like this is going to save time. It's going to reduce human error. Let's assume you are a team leader and you have some repetitive tasks that you have to do regularly. Instead of calling someone and say, oh, this is how you go about it, you can just move it to another team member and say, just when you receive the sheet, just press the button attached on top or something, and everything is done for you. So also it ensures consistency in data cleaning tasks. So macros are actually the codes that are written from macros are tied to something that we call a Visual Basic for Applications, which is commonly called VBA, which is a programming language, the same way we have a lot of programming languages. So VBA is Excel programming language, and it's not only an Excel application, it's also available in some other Microsoft applications too. So but today we are focusing mainly on Excel. So you use it to write macros in Excel. So in case you don't want to record your macros, if you are a guru in writing VBA codes, you can actually open your VBA environment and write those codes yourself. But in case you don't know how to write the codes, you can actually do it simply by recording macros and tweaking one or two things, and you can actually have the same thing. How to write a code in VBA is a whole course on its own. We are not going to be going through that today, but it's just how to record macros and do some editing we are going to be looking at today. So what are the capabilities of VBA? So it allows users to create complex automation beyond what macro recorder can capture. So for example, in your macro recorder, you cannot record how to find you cannot write a formula that says, okay, probably how to calculate the area of a triangle. But you can write a code in VBA that would actually, that you say that, okay, anytime I press this code or I run this code, what I want you to do for me is for you to calculate the area of a rectangle or a triangle or any other complex formula that you can think of. You can do loops, conditional logic, and you can also interact with other applications. So like I said, we are not really focusing on that today because that is a whole lot of, that's another probably close to 8 hours course on its own. So now, how can you enable the developer tab on your system? So for example, now if you open your Microsoft Excel workbook, you might not have a developer tab there. What is a developer tab? A developer tab is actually the Excel tab where you can access the macro and the VBA. And so I'll be taking us, I'll come to the Excel environment now and show us how you can enable that tab on your system, on your laptop, on your Excel environment, because that is the first step into using a macro. So I'll open my Excel. I'll open my Excel environment now. Let me open a new blank sheet workbook. All right, so I have a blank workbook here, and I'll quickly deactivate my own developer tab. So to do that, just come to your file tab. Let me come back in. You come to your file tab, then come to more or options. It depends on the version of Excel you are using. So then you come to customize ribbon. So when you see customize ribbon, by the far right of it, you see where you have main tabs. These are all the tabs on your ribbons. And you can see here that my own developer tab is checked. If I uncheck it now, you see what will happen. Can you see it is no longer on my Excel environment? So for me to check it in again, if you have your Excel opened on your, if you have your Excel open on your computer, you can also do this with me. So you just come to your file tab, down to where you have more or options. Then you click on options. When you open the options, by the left hand side, you see where you have customize ribbon. Click on it, and by the far right of that dialog box, you see where you have all your tabs, your background, home, insert, and any other tabs that you have on your system. Then you can check in the developer tab and click OK. So you see that the moment I did that, I have my developer tab working very well and is already on my system, on my Excel environment. So the next thing you have to do now, let's look at what is the other groups that are in the developer tab. So we have a lot of groups here in the developer tab. We have the code group, the add-ins, the control, and the XML. So for this class today, we are only going to be using the code group and the control group. So, and on the code group, we'll be using the Visual Basic, the macros, the record macro, the use relative reference, and the insert dialog box. So these are the ones we are going to be using, and I'll quickly give us what each of them do. So the Visual Basic is where you write your code. That is exactly where you write your code. All the codes that you record, that is where they are stored. The macros is where all your macros are saved. And for you to access the Visual Basic, if you don't want to just come directly to your developer tab, you can just do Alt F11 on your system. And the moment you press Alt F11, you'll be taken directly into the Visual Basic environment. And when you have recorded your macros, to access the macro dialog box, you can just simply press Alt F8. Now to record your macro, you can record your macro from the record macro that we have here. You can also, if you come to your status bar, there is something that looks like a camera down where you have ready on my own system, where I have ready, something that looks like a camera and accessibility good to go. So where you have something like a camera, if you press it, you can also record your macro from there. So any macro that you have recorded, you can view them on the macros. Then these use relative references. I'm just trying to explain so that by the it gives me my 3 already. So the concept of relative reference is that if I copy this formula here and I place it on cell D2, what it does is that this formula that I've written would automatically migrate to the next cell. So it's now assuming that, okay, I have a value here. Let me assume I have 2 here and I have 2 here. So Excel will automatically take these values that are on cell C and calculate it for me on my cell D2. So that is the concept of relative referencing. So now, how does relative referencing work? How does relative referencing work in when you are recording a macro? So for example, now if I record a macro that says, okay, write my title, bolding it, and maybe every time I want to write a report, I have some basic things I normally do, and I don't want to be doing those things every day. But my first reference is on probably the where I'm pasting my cell is on cell A1, and probably tomorrow on my next cell, my next sheet, I want to place it on cell D2. If I don't click on use relative reference before I record my macro, I would not be able to use that macro on another tab. So now let me give a brief introduction into what I am saying so that we can actually relate with it. So, but before I proceed, I would like to know if there is any question. Please, if anyone is saying anything in the chat room, please let me know because I can't access that right now. So can I proceed, please?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So I would just show us how to record a simple macro. So now let's assume that I work with Techlytics, and every time I have a report on probably Techlytics data school program, I have a report that I normally write, and is on a weekly basis. And the first thing I do when I want to write that report is I have a title that I want to do. So I don't want to be doing this thing every time. I don't want to be typing them every time. It's cumbersome when there is something that can actually do it for me very simply. So what I will do is I want to record my macro. And like I said, to record your macro, you can come to your developer tab and do record a macro. You can see the moment I press record a macro, it will ask me for my macro name. Now, macro naming has a convention. You can't just name macros the way you like. You cannot use a space. You can't start it with a character, and you can only use an underscore when you to separate, but you can use both lower and uppercase. So I want to name my macro maybe headers, report header. Let me just call it reports. So that's the name I want to give my macro. You can have a shortcut key for your macro so that anytime you want to run that macro, you don't need to open the macros dialog box. The moment you press the control and the shortcut key, you can have your macros. But remember, in Microsoft Excel, we have a lot of shortcut keys already. So, and you have Control A, Control B, Control C, Control V, and the likes. So you'll be very sure that you are not using a shortcut that conflicts with the normal Microsoft shortcut keys. So to do that, one of the things I would recommend is that when you want to click this shortcut key, always use Control and Shift, because we have less shortcuts that starts with Control Shift and the alphabet. So I will now press my Shift. So, and I will name it Control Shift R. That means anytime I press Control Shift R, this thing I am doing here, I can easily access it. So, and it will ask you, where do you want to store your macros? I have a lot of options. So I can say I want to store my macro in this workbook. I want to store it as a personal macro workbook. So what this means is that this macro is not going to be saved on this workbook. And you can actually use, if you save on a personal macro workbook, you can use this macro on other Excel sheets that is open on your system. Actually, when you also save on this workbook, you can still use the macro on other sheets. The only thing is that that macro, that workbook has to be opened before you can access it on another workbook. So I will be using to store in this workbook, and you can give a description. So I will just say reports either for data data school program. So the moment I do this, I would click on OK. And please note, when I click on OK, everything on my system has started recording, including that my active cell is on cell I3. So what I could have done earlier is to have put my cursor on A1 if that is what I want, but that is still not a problem. Then I'll click on OK. So I'll come to my A1, then I'll write Techletics Data School Program Report. So when I'm done doing this, click enter, and I want to do some basic formatting on this. So I'll come to my home tab. I want to merge these cells. I merge them. I want to change my font to my company's font. So let me I'll pick any fonts and not necessarily, I'll just pick any fonts here. Then I want to change this to size 14. I want to bold, increase it. Then I want to make it bold. And also change the color to probably, let me choose this green. And let me see how it is. So this is how I want this report to look anytime I want to access it. So the next thing I will do is I will click on stop recording. Please don't forget that, because if you don't stop recording, any other thing you do after this, you would always, it will be, Excel will continue recording it. So to stop recording, I can come to my developer tab here and press stop recording, or down on my status bar here, I can just click on this stop button. You can see it has changed from the camera to the stop button, and I'll click on stop. And I have stopped recording my macro. And let's see how this macro would now play out. Now, I'm on another sheet. I'm on cell A1. I just want to see how my macro is working. So to view my macro, remember I used a shortcut key. So I'm going to show us the two. I'll come back to my developer tab and come to macros here, or I come to my view tab and I come to macros down here to view my macros. So I click on view macros, and you can see the first macro I have created is here, report. And the moment I click on run, my macros has actually run. And this exact same thing I did here, I have it here with just a click of a button. So let's now test why I said relative referencing is very important in some macros that you are going to be recording. And before you use relative referencing, you ask yourself some questions. It's based on the kind of report you are working on. So let's assume that I now come here and I still want to run this same macro. I have pressed Ctrl-Shift-R, which is my shortcut. My macro is not running. So if I come to another sheet here and I press and I say Ctrl-Shift-R, my macro would only run on the cell that I want it to run. It will not run that I recorded it with. It will not run on the cell I picked. But let's assume I want this macro to run directly on this cell I13 that I have chosen. Before I start anything, I have to pick that option of use relative referencing. So let me just do a simple example to show us this. That will move to today's data set and start proper. So now I want to record another macro. I'll use this record macro button that is here, and I want to record it on cell. Let me open a new sheet. Okay, I want to record it on cell A1. So I want to record some of the names of the people on this call. So I'll click on, so I'll say names, then description, names of attendees. So then I click OK and I start recording. So I click a name. and I write Adenike Oluwaseun. So I have Adenka, I have Ebi, so, and every other person on the call. Let me just leave it this way. So I've done the same thing I said I was not going to do. I did not click on the relative friend. So I'm going to stop this macro and I will delete it and start all over again. So I'll stop recording. And to delete your macro, if you have made a mistake, just come back to your developer tab or just click Alt F8. Alt F8 and the macro dialog box is out. So I'll just delete what I have here. Names, I can just delete it here. So do you want to delete the macros? Yes. So I'll delete these two. Then I'll start all over again. So to start all over again, I'm going to come back to my developer tab and click on use relative reference first. Then I will now click on record macro. So I'll give my macro name and I will name it names again. So names of attendees. And I'll click OK. So I'll come back here and say names. Then Glory, Seun, Adenka, Iberi. So I'm done. Then I'll stop. I'll stop recording my macros using the stop button here. It's not responding. Maybe it's my laptop. Okay. I'll stop recording. So I've stopped recording my macros. So now let's test what I was saying. So if I come to another sheet here, to a new sheet here, and I say, I didn't give it a shortcut. So let me just do Alt F8 to call out and I run it. I have my names here. Let me come to this cell and do Alt F8 and run this macro. You can see I have this macro here. So that is the benefit of using relative referencing when it is necessary. So that is just a brief introduction into macros. So let me just introduce us briefly also to VBA environment before we now move to our data set, so that any other thing we do after this, you can easily understand it. Now you come back to your developer tab. You can access your Visual Basic environment in two different ways. You can either come to your developer tab or you use Alt F11. The moment you press Alt F11 on your system, it takes you to the VBA environment. So I'll just come to the Visual Basic environment, and this is, because I have two sheets open on my system, that is why I have these other sheets that is here. So I have this other sheet, but the macros I have written, this is how the VBA environment looks like. It has some tabs: the file tab, the edit tab, the view code, insert, format, debug, run, tools, and every other tabs that will be needed. But for you to access your macro, you can see we have here project, VBA project. Your macros are usually in your VBA project, and they are recorded in what is called modules. So for me to access my macros of what I have recorded on this sheet that I opened, which is VBA project book 1. So because my Excel sheet is named book 1, I didn't give it any name. So when I open up these these modules here, I have module 1 here. So all my macros are in this module 1. So if I click this module 1, you can see all my macros. These are all the codes, everything I have been doing. This is how they are being recorded in the VBA environment. So here I can do a lot of things from here, but I said this class is not for VBA language. It's not for us to learn how to write codes, but you can just do some little editing from here too. So from here now, I can name this my module 1. I can name it something else. For example, I can call it mode ed. It's just an example, and I click OK. So you can see the name I've changed. From this VBA environment, I can also rename my sheet. Let me look at sheet 1. So if I want to rename my sheet, I'll come down to where I have my properties sheet 1. So this sheet 1 workbook, I cannot edit this because that is the generic name of my workbook. So for me to rename it, I have to come down to the second name I have here, which is sheet 1. When I click on it, I can edit this and call it headers. And you see how this work out, and I click OK. So you can see even on my VBA project, the name has changed. So let me come back to my module. So if I have another, if I continue any other recording or codes that I write on this particular worksheet will be recorded in this my module that I call module ed. So if I close this workbook, because this workbook is also opened, if I have, these are the sheets, even though I didn't open it, these are the sheets on my other workbook. And if I want to edit anything, or if I have any module on this, any codes on this workbook, they are going to be recorded here. So let me collapse this back. So let's go back to our code. So you can see the first macro we recorded was a macro that we called report. So a VBA code starts with a sub and ends with an end. It ends with an end sub. So that is how a VBA codes, that is how it starts and end. So by the time you see end sub, you know that that is a whole code on its own. If we scroll down here, you see it starts with sub, and you can see we have end sub here. And let me just take us through quickly some of the things we have done here. So remember, I gave a description when I was writing my code. I call these report header for data school program. That was the description I gave. So what any description you give when you are recording your macro will be revealed on your macro, on your Visual Basic application as a comment. I don't know if you have worked with Python before, the same way you use hash to comment something out in Python. So that's the same thing. You can use an apostrophe to comment something in VBA. So all these extra space, if I remove it, nothing will happen. If I also, you can see everything I did is here. It's telling me that the name of my macro is report, and is a report header for data school program. And the keyboard shortcut that I put here is Ctrl+Shift+R. So that's the keyboard, this thing that I did. So all these are just everything I have done. I'll just explain some of the things here. Like range A1 select means that I selected range A1 first. Then I went to my active cell, excuse me, which is cell A1. And I wrote in there Techlytics Data School Program Report. That is what I wrote. Then from range A1 to H1, I selected everything. That is when I did my merging. And I did I did horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, and every other thing here is, let me show you something here. When you click on anything on the paragraph or on the home tab that has to do with formatting, it will write another code from width selection and end width. So all these are the things that I did on, you can see merge cells, wrap cell false. If this was true, that means I actually merged, I actually wrapped my cell. Then it came down to tell me still on the, I changed the color, the fonts, you can see with font selection.font, I've changed the font to Cogenia Black. I changed the size to 11. Did I strike through? No. Did I write any superscript? No. Subscript? No. Outline font? No. Shadow? No. So yeah, all these things, if I don't want my code to be too long, I can actually take them out and it will not affect my code in any way. So did I underline? None. It's telling me none. Did I use, what theme color did I use? It's telling me theme color light 1. Tint shade? No, I didn't use any shade. And I didn't use any theme font. So that is what all these are talking about. Then so this is where I increased the size to 18. So these are just everything I did and it ended. So this is the second one I wrote. It's starting another coding here. So I named my macro names of attendees. So that's the description I gave. I named my macro names. So these are everything I did on that cell. I selected an active cell, and I wrote on cell A1, that's my active cell. I wrote names there. Then on the active cell, I came down, then I wrote Glory, I wrote Sheung, then I wrote Adeyinka, and I wrote Ebere, and I end the sub. I end the code writing. So basically, that is what VBA is all about. So if you know how to write all these codes, yeah, and you feel like I don't want to record a macro because I have some other things I want to tweak in here, so you can actually write these codes yourself. So for example, now if I want to add to my active cell, I want to add another person's name, I can just copy this and say copy and paste here. Then I can add here that okay, that I should add Adenike. So I have to add this to it. So active cell sets. Okay. So I can add here that, okay, add Adenike's name. Instead of me to manually add Adenike in every other code that I write. So I can come here and press on this Combine VBA project. If you don't have it on your environment, you can simply add it by clicking outside on the blank sheet on this space bar. Then you come to customize. When you have customized, you can come to edit, and you can add some of these things like a comment block on comment block. So to add the compile, you come to the bug and include this compile project. You can just bring it out and add it here. So I have 2 of it here now, so I can remove one back. So because you might be is something that you would need regularly for you to check whether your codes are correct or not. That is when you are writing a code. So when I click on this and it's not giving me any error, that means I've not made any mistake. So from here now, I can run this so that I can apply these correction. I can remove all these excess spaces if I want. Then come back to my Excel environment, or just press Alt F11 to take me back to my Excel environment. And you see what has happened. Adenike has automatically been added to my sheet. So let me see where else on the first sheet. So if I run this again, and I come here, I say Alt F8. Sorry. Alt F8, and I run names. You can see Adenike has been included in the names. So, and finally, before I go to the sheet I would want to work on briefly, I want to show us that when you are done working on an Excel sheet that you have written macros on, you don't just save it anyhow. You have to save it as a macro enabled workbook. So you come to this file and you say save as. Because let me show you something. If I just do Control S and I save it like this, it's already picking it up as a macro, and I'm not changing it to macros. The next time I open that workbook, I would not be able to access it. So I can come here and do save as. So you can see is a Excel workbook XLSX. So if I save it like this, I will not be able to access all the macros I have recorded are gone, and they are gone for good. You can't have them back again. So for me to do this, let me just do PR practice. Let me just call it one name. Then you come to this drop down button and ensure that you make it a macro enabled workbook, which is XLSM, and you can click save. And the moment you save this, anytime you want to use this workbook, you can easily access your macros. So that is just a brief introduction into what macros are and what VBAs are. So I will be going into today's data set to show you one or two more things we can do with macros. But before I proceed, I would like to know if we have any question. Okay, Glory, just checking again. Am I audible? Hey guys, can you guys still hear me? Okay, I can
Yes,
see.
can you hear me? I didn't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear
yes,
you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. So do we have any question before I proceed? Have any question? The little explanation I've made now, is it clear before we proceed to another data set, a larger data set? It's just a yes or no would be fine by me. Thank you. Oh, I've been okay. There are some. Okay, yes, I am. Thank you. It is clear. Thank you, Luashim. Thank you, Jalil. So, okay, I just want to check some. All right. So thank you very much. So I'll just move to the data set I want to use to further explain this concept of writing macros. So I have a data set. I'm assuming I work as an HR analyst. I work in an organization and I work in the HR department. And the data group the database manager has actually pulled out some data for me to analyze some of our employee data, to analyze some of our employee data. And this is I don't need this. So we have various departments in my organization. We have the sales department, we have the marketing department, we have the IT department, we have the HR, we have the finance department, we have the engineering department, and we have the accounting department. These are the departments that we have in my company. And as an analyst, I have been given this data set to work with. So they have told me there are some KPIs that have been given that I should work on with. We want to know some of our employees' salary. We want to know those that are getting bonus and those that are not getting bonus, and some other things I would like to know. And this is how the database manager, this is what he has sent to me. He just sent a data to me. This is how you can see this data does not have an header. And so I don't understand what this data set is all about. These data sets, and unfortunately, this is what happens to all the sheets I want to work with. Now, let me quickly say this. This is just a sample data set. Your own situation might be that you work with reports on a daily basis. Maybe you work in a bank or you work any other place, and there are reports that are being pulled for you every day. So maybe from the IT department, they just send reports to you, and you have to do the same data preparation on all the reports every day. So you can use macros for this. It's not only limited to data cleaning. Any task that you repeat consecutively, you can use macros for it. So now I have been faced with this. On a normal day, if I am an analyst that don't have enough skills to work on Excel, what I will just do maximum, if I'm very smart, that is if I'm even very smart, I'll insert a row here and type in the headers. Then when I'm through with this one, I copy the headers and paste on this marketing, paste on IT. That is if I am a that is what the smartest person would do. That is if I'm very smart. But if I am not smart, what I'll now do is that after I've written all these headers, I will now start again and start writing for, I want to be sure this is the only workbook I have opened here. So I'll close this. All right. So then I'll start typing in all of this one after the other. So what I did was I just went to meet, the data you gave me does not have headers. Oh, sorry. As I was pulling it, I forgot to pull in the rows, the row for the header. Please let me just tell you what the rows are and you can fix it in or something. Or maybe say, okay, don't worry, I'm busy now. In the next 3 hours, I'll spool the report for you. And I'm like, 3 hours? My manager is already calling me that he needs that report in 30 minutes. And someone is telling me 3 hours. Let me go and fix it out myself. So now I want to fix in the headers for all these, my data sets, and I want to fix them well. The other assignment that I've been given is that we changed our email address, the way we write our email address in my company. And I have been told that I'm going to generate new email addresses for all employees. So now I have over 1,000 employees. So also, I'm going to be checking out which of my employees are earning above 200,000. And if you look at this data, when you say data is dirty, it does not mean that until you see blank rows, until you see data that are in upper and lower case, characters that are not similar, that is when the data is dirty. For example, now this is a dirty data because you cannot make any sense out of this data. Number one, no errors. Number two, this currency, you don't even know what they have. Number three, see my dates. I don't even know what is 37507. I don't know what they have. I don't know whether this is in Naira or Kobo or yen or something. So all these things, I need to fix them before I can analyze my data. Because use your macros. One of the things that are very, very, very important for you to know is that first list out all the things you want to do. Okay, what are the things I want to do? What are the steps I need to follow? Okay, I need to first insert a cell. I need to type in the names. I need to bold in the columns. I need to align it. I need to do an auto fit. So you have to know all these things before you start, because any mistake you make would also be recorded as part of your macros. And one funny thing about macros is that the moment you record them, you cannot undo them. For you to undo it, you have to undo everything you have done. You can delete the macro, delete everything you have done, but it's not like Excel that when you type it and you remember, I know it's not here I want to do it, you do Control Z. No, you cannot do that with macros. So you either take everything out or you delete that macro itself, or you can go back to your VBA environment if you know how to write the codes very well and make some corrections. So I would start by what I've explained earlier on. I'll come to my cell A1 and I will come to developer tab and do record macros. So now I don't want to use relative referencing because invariably all my data are on the same, they start from the same column. I have A to M here. Let me just do is A to M, column A to N here. So I have, okay, let's say I have A to P here. So basically, by the time I write the headers, we are going to know whether we have the same headers or not. So I'll come to my developer tab, or I can come to the camera icon down here and click on record macro. And so as I've started this recording, everything I want to do now would be recorded. So I need to be very, very careful of all the steps I take, because any step I don't want shouldn't be here. So now I'm going to give this macro a name and give it probably headers. So if I want to give it a shortcut key, like I said earlier, it's advisable you always use shift. I will use shift H just to for headers, and I can give it a description, reports, Others. Then I click OK. So the moment I click OK, any other action I start doing is already being recorded. So I click OK. Then I come here. The first thing I want to do is that I want to insert a new row. So I insert a new row and I start typing in my header. So the first header I have is employee ID. I'll type it in. I move to the next tab. So employee full name. The next one is the job title of our employees, job titles. The next one is this is department. And the next is business units. The next is gender. And the next is ethnicity. And this is age. Then this is date hired, hired day, dates. So this is annual salary. This is a bonus in percentage. And this is country. This is my city. So I have other tabs other columns I want to add here. Some of my employees have left the country, the company, and they have their exit date here. And also, I can add my calculated bonus because I want to calculate their bonuses. Then I want to add a comment whether they have bonus or not. So I can add the comments here. So after I am done with this, I can click on all this cell. I've finished writing I can click on all this cell. I want to bolding this. And also, I just want to do some, I want to add a color to it. Let me use the deep green. Then white fonts. So I want to do this. Then what else do I want to do to add to my data? So I also want to do auto fit column. So I can select this and come to my home tab and come to my format, to my cell group here, format, and I can do auto fit column width. So I have done that, and I am done with writing my headers. So I can do stop. So the moment I stop, all these have been recorded. So the only thing I need to do now is for me to move to the next cell. Click on okay, I have this here. So I think I forgot to remove this for the explanation purpose. Sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm done recording my first macro, and I want to duplicate these across all other sheets. So I've not tried this before, but let me try it. I want to highlight all my cell and press Ctrl-Shift-H. And let's see what happens. Can you see that? Can you guys see what has just happened? So all I needed to do was just to select all my sheets, and I applied the formula, and Excel automatically filled in the headers for all of them. Can you see this? So all my sheet has been filled up in a twinkle of just one click. I just did Ctrl-Shift-H, and I have everything written already. So that is the first one I would be working on. Then secondly, I have noticed that maybe I just did conditional formatting here. Let me come here. I want to check whether my data have duplicates, and I will undo this anyway. And I came here and I said conditional formatting, highlight cells rules that contain duplicate values. And I can see here already, it has been highlighted. I have some duplicate values here. And some of the data cleaning job you do is for you to remove duplicate value. And now I don't want to be doing this all over again for all the sheets, because I don't know whether every other one to also has duplicate values. So I want to use macros to do that. So we'll start by recording our macros again. So I come to the developer tab, record macro, and I name these duplicates remover. And I say to remove duplicates. So I can come to the shortcut key and do Ctrl+Shift+D for duplicate. Then I click OK. So I have started recording my macro. So I come to my data group here and look out for where I can remove my duplicate in my data tools, remove duplicate. And Excel will ask me, where do you want to remove the duplicate from? I cannot select all of this cell, because if I remove duplicate from gender now, I have a lot of male, female. So the only unique value where I can remove my duplicate is from my employee ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unselect all of this and select only my employee ID. Then I click on OK. So when I click on OK, it said 4 duplicates removed. And so I'll say OK. And the moment I do that, I stop recording. So as I've stopped recording, this macro has been recorded. Now let's check something here before we start. Let's look whether we have the duplicates here. Let me come to my home tab, conditional formatting, highlight rules that contain duplicate values. So let's see, do we have duplicates here? Okay, I have a lot of duplicates here. So let's check this out and to see whether our macros is working. Let me undo this, Ctrl+Z. So I've removed the conditional formatting. So I'll just come here, press anywhere in my on my sheet, and press Ctrl+Shift+D. And the moment I do that, let me see what has happened. I didn't count the number of cells that was there before. So let's see whether we still have duplicates here. Highlight cells rules that contain duplicate values. Okay. So you can see all the duplicates are gone. So that means our macro is working very well. So let me clear the conditional formatting rule so that it will not affect every other thing I want to do. Okay. From selected cells. Okay. So I have done that already. So let's see if we highlight everything and just press the function to remove the duplicate. Let's see how it goes. Ctrl+Shift+D. And I'm done. I have removed all the duplicates from my data sets just with a click. And now let me quickly say this again. Assuming where you want to use your macro is just on a sheet, because you cannot be moving your buttons up and down. You can actually use a button to attach your macros. Or let's say you are using your macros on your dashboard, on the data visualization dashboard. You can actually create a button so that at a click, you can use the button. I'm going to be doing that right now after the next step I want to take. So the next thing I want to do is that I want to create email addresses. Okay, let me first do I want to do some formatting on my annual salary cell, my annual salary cells, and I also want to calculate the bonus, and I want to add a comment to it. So I want to take these three together. So I'm going to name my macros salary formats. So salary formatting or something, anything you want, you can name it. So far you have the correct conversion. So let me start from here, and I'll call these salary formats. So I can use this as Ctrl+Shift+S as my shortcut. The shortcut is not important, but it makes your life easier. So, and I will state here that this comment is very important in case you want to look at what you have done again, to format the salary column, calculate bonus, and add a comment. So this is what I want my my macro to do. So I click OK. So I come to I first want to change this to, I want to format this. So I can come and click here on this, my annual salary on the column J, come to my home tab and format this to currency. So this is in Naira. I am not using Naira. I am dealing with US dollars. So I've changed this. And secondly, what I want to do again is I want to calculate my bonus. And to do that, I want to do equals to calculate the bonus is annual salary multiplied by bonus. So annual salary, then I'm multiplying it by my bonus. And I say, okay. So I just shift this down to calculate for every other one. So I want to know whether there is bonus or not, and I want to write the comment. So I can do equals to, if I write an if statement, and I want to see if this column is greater than 0, then tell me that there is bonus. So otherwise, tell me no bonus. And I want to believe that you know why I am putting these in a quote, because Excel would not understand, does not understand there is no bonus. It's not a formula. So it will only understand when it is in a quote. So no bonus. And I close this up and I press OK. So you can see there, this is dash and it's telling me no bonus. And I will just run this through too. So after that, what else do I want to do? I will just come back here and stop the macro recording and come and try what I have done. I've forgotten the shortcut I used. Can anyone remember? Ctrl+Shift, I can't remember. I remember the shortcuts. Ctrl+Shift+S, thank you. I just want to be sure I am not. Thank you very much. That shows you are following. I wanted to be sure I am not alone here. So I'll just come here and do Ctrl+Shift+S. And you can see what's just happened. It's all formatted. I have my calculated bonus. I have my comment. My annual salary is also being formatted. And so I will just, to do for other ones, I can start doing it one after the other, but I'm a smart babe. I can't be doing that when there is a way out. Just click on your control button and right click on all the other cells. And I want to believe these are all the cells. Okay. And just do Ctrl+Shift+S. Is this not magic? We have it all populated. So that is another thing you can do on your Excel. Now look at what I have here. Sorry, excuse me. So look at what I have here. This, my calculated bonus, is not formatted as a currency. If I want to do this, I can actually do this all over again. I can come and edit it from my VBA. So let me come to my developer tab, come to my Visual Basic, or just press Alt 11. This is the sheet I am working on. And you can see my modules is here already. Sorry, please excuse me. Let me reject this call. Fatima, I'll call you back. Okay, sorry, please. So I have all my codes recorded on these modules. So module 1, I can rename it just like I have said. I can rename any of these two just like I have said earlier on. If I want to rename this module, I can just come here and call it a mode. This mode is just for me to quickly know that it's a module. Mode employee. Let me write the employee. Okay, so I can click on this and I have all the codes for everything I have been doing since morning. This was my code for the headers that I did. So this is the code for my duplicate remover when I remove duplicates. This is the code that this is the recording for the salary format that I also did. And if you look at here, the selection is also only saying that column J to J dot select, selection style, currency, this and that. Assuming the next one I want to add my currency is just after J is IJK, right? Okay, it's K. Assuming it's on sheet K, let me see, on column K, but it's on column O, I would have just Alt F11. I would have just edited this and changed this to H so that it will say J through H. But because it's O, so it's far away from there. So I would just change this. I will just copy this formatting style again and do the same thing for column O. So instead of writing all this code, I can just copy this, come down and write this column J select. Indenting is very important. So I'll change this to its column O. Let me write it in caps lock for easy readability. And let me compile my VBA project to be sure I don't have any error. I don't have any error. I can run this. Then let me come back to my Excel workbook. And you can see that it has affected only on the current sheet. So if I want it to be affected on this sheet, I can do Ctrl-Shift-S again, and it has corrected itself. I can highlight everything and do for all of them again so as to make my correction. So Ctrl-Shift-S, and I am done. So another thing I want to do is that now they have told me that I should create email address for everyone in my company using the first name and the last name. But on my data, I only have the full name of my employees. I don't have the first name and the last name. So now I want to be able to create email addresses and also split this first name and last name. And to do splitting in Excel, you can use your split formula, text split formula, and you can use your text to column. I'll be using text to column to do this. So I would also be recording a macro to do this for me. So what I'll just do is I'll come here to record my macro. And I can make this to be very long to do everything I want to do, create the email address, I can do everything once and for all. And I think that is what I'm going to be doing because we are actually running out of time. So I will just come here and click on record macro, and I will name this email address. So I will say create email address using first and last name. So I click on let me use a Shift Control E for email, and I say okay. So the first thing I want to do here is that I want to insert a new cell, because you know when you are doing text to column, your cell is going to spill over to the next cell. So I will just come here, click on column B, and write insert here. Okay, I think I inserted to the, I can undo this, Control Z. So, and come and insert here, and you will see what would happen. What I have done here has been recorded, and every time I run my macro, it will also start the way I've started it. So I'll change this to first name. And I'll change this to last name. Then to split these, I'll click on the cell I want to split and come to my data group and look for my text to column. Why is it graded out? Sorry. Okay. Let me select this. Why? Okay, sorry. Because I selected every other cell. Okay. So where was I doing this? I'll just delete this, stop the macro and start all over again. Let me stop the macro. If I run this now, all the mistake I have made, that is what I am running. All right, so to delete my macro, I can come to my view tab here, come to macros, view macro, and the email address macro that I've made mistake, I can delete it. Yes, then I'll start all over again. So starting on this cell, so I will record my macro again and say email address. I would not be adding the description again because of time. Control Shift. Let me just put it. So create email address. And I'll click OK. Then I'll come here and insert a new tab here, a new column here. So then I'll come back here and come to my data group, come to my text column. So sorry, I did not highlight everything. So I need to highlight this data text column. So it's asking me what is my delimiter. So I'll do next. So my delimiter is a space, which Excel has already recognized this. I'll do next, and it is breaking down my this thing for me. Finish. And it said there is data here already because I want to replace this. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I want to replace it. So the next thing I'll do is I've made this mistake. I'll just correct it like this. I'll delete this and change this to first name and change this to last name. So I'm done with that. So now I want to create email address. Email. And I'll be writing some formulas here because I want to use both the first name and the last name. And my company's name is called Jobbers. So I want to do joshua.gupta@jobbers.org. That's how I want the email address to appear. So I'll just say equals to. So I'll just click on Joshua. So I want to put a dot. I can't just put dots here. So I need to concat these two together. So I'll use an ampersand, which I can use to concat. Then I'll put in a quotation the dot I want to put there. Then do another ampersand and put this. Then I'll also join it with my at jobbers.com, jobbers.org. So I can put all these, then I click OK. So you can see my email address has been created, but we all know that email addresses are usually in lowercase. So I want to change this to lowercase. So I can now say, call these, I don't need, do I need to call it any name? I can call this new email. And so I want to convert this to lowercase, and I can simply do that by using my Excel function called lower equals to lower. And I click here. Okay, everything is in lowercase already. I scroll down and all my data is fine. So because I don't want this formula to be appearing like this, I'll do Control-Shift down to select all my data sets, or I can just copy everything here in case I have longer data set, copy and do paste as values. So when I'm done with this, I can now delete this and auto fit this and stop my recording. So this is a lot of process. Let me now see if this has actually worked. Let me test it from here. Control-Shift-E. So I'll click OK. So you can see it was trying to correct every other mistake that I made. And I have the email address for Isabella, for Camilla, for Jackson, for Kennedy, even though it's not the same thing I started with. So I can do the same thing for every other person, and I can click on them and do Control-Shift-E. Okay, let me see. Let me debug this. Okay. Range selection. Escape. Since I like to Control-Shift-E. So wait, I'm coming. So this macro, one thing about this is that this macro is not going to run again because there is an error already. So I'm coming. Okay. Let me see, what do we have on Ridge B1? It's F11. Sorry, I can't see well here again. So, sorry, I'm coming. So, for me to correct this, I can actually look at my code and see where I've made a mistake. So, and I think the mistake is from the range. That is some of the mistakes I have made earlier on when writing this code. So those mistakes I was trying to correct. So what I can do is I can actually delete that code and take it all over again and record my macros all over again. And I can actually do that. So I can delete this macro and start all over again, but I would not be doing that because of our time, because it's already 6:34 and the class is meant to end by 6:30. So I can just delete this and do it all over again. So yeah, so I've deleted this. I can do it again if I want to. So let me just take us through the last. I will leave that to you for you to try it again and do it. So let me just take us through the last thing I want to do was you actually use conditional formatting to highlight people that earns more than $200, and I would also want to leave that to you to try it out. We'll share this data set with you in case you would like to work on it from the scratch and practice some of the things we have learned in class today. So I would really appreciate everyone for joining us for today's class. And I just want to tell you that this class is just a taster section for our upcoming data analytics class that is coming up on the 13th of July. We'll be starting on the 13th of July. And in the class, this is just a tip of the iceberg of some of the things we are going to be learning. We are also going to be learning how to debug some of these things that I have not done in class today. We are going to be learning some other great advanced Excel skills like Power Pivot, Power Query, creating KPIs. You are going to be learning Microsoft SQL. You are going to be learning Power BI, and we also have a mouth-watering soft skill program to cap it up with you. This program actually, you are going to be getting a CPD certified certificate. The program is on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and will start by 4 p.m. West African time, both on Sundays and Saturdays. And the cost of the program is 200,000 Naira only, one of the cheapest out there with the value we are given. So it's a CPD certified certificate. And they will be dropping, Glory will be dropping the link for registration in case you want to check our landing page to see some other things that we offer, who our tutors are. We have Microsoft certified tutors that will be taking you. I myself will be taking Microsoft Excel, and like I told you earlier, I've been working with Excel for more than 10 years, so you can be rest assured that you are in a safe hands. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. And before we call it a day, I would like to know if we have questions from anyone. Question, please. Hi, Glory, can you hear me? Hi, Glory. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oluwaseun, can you hear me?
You are audible. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right. Okay, I can hear you. Do we have any question before we call it a day? So I would take that as a no. So I think
actually wanted to ask if it's possible to get the recording of this session.
of course you get it. We are going to post it on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out on Monday, latest on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. You'll see it on our YouTube channel.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.